السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه أما بعد. So we continue with our series today, inshallah. We did not have it yesterday, and I hope we remember where we left. So alhamdulillah, we discussed the Western proofs for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence. And we also discussed the Quranic proofs, and we also concluded by saying how profound, how simple, how authentic, how great and clear to the point the Quranic proofs are. Without convoluted, complicated philosophical theologies which prove nothing, which neither the prophets used, neither the first generation, and neither the Quran approves of. So the Quran invokes pure intellect and sound logic for us to understand the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as far as the primary proof is concerned, as the fitrah, it speaks for itself. It doesn't need any argument for its sake. It speaks for itself. So we've discussed that. We're done with that chapter. Now we enter the second extremely important heading, and with this we will end the series, inshallah. So this will go for another maybe 4 or 5 days, and we will reach the end of our series, inshallah. So we said, belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will discuss it under 4 headings. The proofs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence, we have done that, discussed the Western proofs vis-a-vis the Quranic proofs, and now the remaining 3 headings are remaining. And the 3 headings fall under one main category, under one main heading, and that is the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So today let's understand these terminologies. Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You've heard this. You've heard this every so often. You've heard the Imam speaking about it. Maybe you've heard it in the Friday khutbah. Maybe you've heard it in talks. What does it mean? Literally, according to the dictionary, Tawheed means to maintain the oneness of something, to make something one. In other words, the unification of something. In other words, asserting the oneness of something. And technically speaking, this word is always used in reference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it is used in reference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means maintaining Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's oneness in the 3 respective aspects and categories. These 3, the classification of Tawheed into these 3 categories or these 3 aspects is a traditional classification which the scholars of the early generations came up with. Why did they do that? When shirk, associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, penetrated within the ranks of the Muslims, they needed to bolster the science and to reinforce it as the Quran does. Hence, for the ease of understanding, they classified Tawheed into 3 aspects. And these 3 aspects overlap each other. And they are so inseparable to such a degree that the omission, or the one who omits any of these 3 aspects, has failed to meet the requirements of Tawheed. Hence, the omission of any of these 3 aspects leads to what is known as shirk, associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's understand these 3 aspects. What are they? And then we will prove it from the Holy Quran. Number 1 is what is known as Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Number 2, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. Number 3, Tawheed al-Asma'i wa Sifat. Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, just to give a general overview, and then we will go through each of these categories at great length, and we will also discuss what nullifies each of these categories, what it means to commit shirk in each of these 3 aspects. So let's look at a general overview. Number 1, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Tawheed al-Rububiyyah means maintaining the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, maintaining Allah's unity in His lordship. In other words, and I'm repeating so that we can understand it very well, it means to affirm the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as far as His dominion, His sovereignty is concerned. To affirm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's oneness, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one without partners in His dominion, in His lordship. in His sovereignty. So that is the first category. The second category, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, maintaining Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's unity in His worship. Meaning to affirm that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone reserves the right to be worshipped. He alone has the right to be worshipped, no one else. Okay, that's number two. The third category, Tawheed al-Asma'i wa Sifat, maintaining Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's unity in His essence, that is His names and His attributes. It means that these names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His attributes are incomparable and unique. They cannot be compared to anyone else from His creation. They cannot be compared to anyone from His creation. These three categories, in this classification of Tawheed into these three categories, in order to make the understanding of Tawheed easy, which we will go through aspect after aspect, category after category, these three have been mentioned in Surah Al-Fatiha, the surah that we recite 17 times a day. Look at the first verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins by saying, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the Rabb of all universes. Who is the Rabb of Al-Alameen. Rabb has been mentioned. This is the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His Lordship, in His sovereignty. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the extensively merciful, the intensively merciful. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim are attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maliki Yawmiddin, the judge and the king of the last day, the day of recompense. Again, this is affirming Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's lordship and dominion. Iyyaka na'bud wa iyyaka nasta'in. You alone we worship, and from you alone we seek assistance. This is Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, affirming Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's oneness as far as His worship is concerned, that He deserves the right to be worshipped. So these are the three categories. So from tomorrow we will start from the first category, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. We will discuss it at great length, the verses that affirm this, and the nullifiers. How does someone fall into shirk as far as al-Rububiyyah is concerned, the lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is concerned? Then we will discuss uluhiyyah, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His worship, and what it means to commit shirk as far as His worship is concerned. And we will discuss it in great detail, give modern examples, classical examples, so that we can have an overarching understanding of this. And the purpose of this study is so that we maintain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's oneness in His respective aspect, in the respective aspect, and make sure that we do not fall in any of the categories of shirk. So inshallah from tomorrow we will dissect one after the other.